What's going on? This is David Whitney with Alpha Hulk Fitness. All right, today we're talking about foam rolling and stretching. We're going to talk about what they're supposed to do, what they supposedly do, what they actually do, and some better alternatives. All right, first of all, let's talk about foam rolling and what it's supposed to do, what people tell us that it's doing. They say you're getting myofascial release. And now myofascial tissue is a connective tissue around your muscles. And they say that, it gets tight and we could get knots in there, and that putting the pressure of our bodies on top of the foam roller will help break this tissue up. Now, the truth is, that's just impossible to happen. That's not happening. You're not breaking up the connective tissue. And it's a good thing you're not, because if you think about it, if the pressure of your body on a foam roller could break up the connective tissue around your muscles, then what would happen when a guy puts 400 or 500 pounds on a barbell and puts the bar on his back? It's going to crush the connective tissue and leave a permanent indentation in his muscles. All right, but we know it's doing something, right? Because if people foam roll, they get some type of relief. So we know something's going on. So what actually is going on? Well, you see, it's actually like an anesthetic response. It's kind of like, I have a tendonitis in my elbow. If I was to dig into my elbow and give it a hard massage, it could give me a momentary relief. Okay, it's the same type of thing with foam rolling. If you go to do your squats and you're feeling tight, you could foam roll out the tight spot, and it's going to give you that anesthetic response where momentarily you're going to get through that range of motion. You're going to be able to perform the exercise. But the problem is, you're just covering up for an underlying issue. You're not solving the problem. You're just putting a Band-Aid over it. It's just a quick, brief, temporary fix. And the next time you come in to train, it's right back to square one. Now let's look at stretching. It's the same type of situation, but we'll have a muscle that's tight, right? So it makes sense that we think if we pull on it, if we stretch it, it's going to loosen it up. Well, it's the same type of thing. It's a temporary fix. And see, I used to go through this. I used to foam roll and stretch before every big training session. I would do it like 3 times a week for half an hour before I trained. And it helped a lot. I would feel a lot better when I trained. But when I came back in the next time, it was right back to square one. I felt just as bad as I did before, and I was never getting any progress. I still had to do a half an hour of foam rolling and stretching just to get to where I could train. I never seen any progress with the underlying issues of the tightness in my lower back and the tightness in my hips. And on the days I wasn't training, I'd wake up with a stiff back. Just walking, my back would tighten up on me. So all the stretching I was doing wasn't really helping the underlying issue. Because the thing is, 9 times out of 10, the reason our muscles are tensing up is because our body is sensing an imbalance. Our nervous system is sensing an imbalance or a weakness inside our stabilizer muscles. So while your major muscles have enough strength to produce some serious force, your stabilizers can't keep up with that. And your nervous system can sense that you're going to put your body in a precarious situation, a dangerous situation where you can injure yourself. So before that happens, your body tries to tighten up so it stops you from doing it. It's kind of like if I was to get into the boxing ring with a prime Mike Tyson. My body is going to know I'm in serious danger and it's going to tense up. Now, you could fill me up with liquor and tell me I'm an animal and I'm going to kill this guy and I might loosen up. But as soon as I sober up, I'm going to get right back to being tense because I'm going to perceive the situation that I'm in. It's the same thing with foam rolling and stretching. It's a temporary fix. And then when we come back, it's right back to square one. So what's the better solution? It's to strengthen those weaknesses and imbalances in our stabilizer muscles. So for me, my weaknesses were I had the tightness in my right hip mostly, and in my lower back around my lower spine, my lumbar spine. So when we think about strengthening our muscles, usually we're trying to strengthen our muscles through a full range of motion when we're training. We're trying to train our muscles to produce force against an external resistance, right? So I would look around the gym and I would say, all right, how could I train my hips to get stronger? I would see things like the hip abduction machine, where you sit down, the thing you mostly will see like ladies do. It's kind of like a little embarrassing for a man to do it, but I would do it because I said, you know what, I got to get past this pain. I got to build up my hips, right? But the only thing that was strange to me is when I would get on this machine, I was able to do reps with almost a whole rack. So I'm saying to myself, wait, my hips are obviously strong. Well, they're strong for that movement. But if you think about it, when I'm tensing up doing squats or even just walking, I'm not doing this with my knees. I'm using my knees as I'm using my hips as a stabilizer. I'm using my hips to balance my body. I'm not using them through the full range of motion. And now I'm gonna get more into this and explain this deeper. But first, let's talk about the lower back now. When we think about strengthening the lower back, I would take a look around the gym and I would say, all right, we got back hyperextensions on the Roman chair. You have good mornings. You got deadlifts. But the thing is, once again, when my back is tightening up, it's when I'm doing things just like walking or doing squats. And those performing those activities, I'm not doing like a hyperextension where I'm taking my back through the full range of motion. That's why I could do hyperextensions day after day, week after week, and never see any improvement. See, the thing is this, like I said, when we're training our major muscles, we're training them through the full range of motion in order to produce force against an external resistance. Now, what I mean is this. Let's think about a bench press. You're training your chest to contract against the external resistance. The external resistance is the bar in your hands. You're contracting your chest and your tricep muscles to produce force against that bar, against the external resistance. Because when we use our chest, we're using it in this manner. Let's say we have to push something. We're contracting our chest and we're trying to produce force. Same thing with our legs when we're doing a squat, or even when we're doing something as simple as walking. We're contracting our leg muscles to produce force against the external resistance of the ground. We're pushing our bodies off of the ground by contracting our leg muscles. But now, let's think about the core. How do we use our core? Are we 99 times out of 100 when we're using our core, we're not contracting our core muscles. We're not doing things like a sit-up or a back hyperextension. We're using it isometrically, or we're trying to use it in more of a static position. We're trying to use it to hold our bodies up and balance our bodies. My back would tighten up when I was doing things like walking. That's because my hips, you think about it, when you're walking, you're lifting one foot up and you got to keep your body upright. You got to keep your torso and your upper body upright using the opposite hip and your lower back to keep your body straight. This is nothing like a hyperextension or a hip abduction. This is instead of using your muscles to produce force against the external resistance, when we're using our core muscles, we're using them to resist force. You see what I'm saying? So the bigger my upper body would get, the more force my core had to resist. So I'm strengthening up my upper body and getting bigger, but I'm never building up the endurance in my core muscles in order to resist that strength. That's why the bigger I would get, the more weight I'd gain, the more tight my lower back and my hips would get. That's why I switched to doing more static type exercises, more isometric type exercises for the core. And I seen incredible relief in my lower back and my hip tightness. Now I don't do any of that foam rolling or any of that stretching before my training sessions. I just make sure I do proper core training after my training sessions. Now, we talked about foam rolling, what it really does and why it's not a permanent fix for the underlying issue. We talked about core training and the proper way to train the core. And in my next video, I'm going to get into the exact core exercises that I do now that have shown me great progress and great improvement in my lower back pain and in my hip tightness. All right, guys, make sure you stay tuned for that one. That will be coming out soon. And if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for that coming up video and more future videos, and make sure to check out the past videos. All right, until next time.